The Rwandan genocide was a terrible event in human history. It happened in 1994, from April to July. During these 100 days, unimaginable violence and cruelty swept across Rwanda. People turned on their neighbors, friends, and even family members. The world watched in horror as hundreds of thousands of people were brutally murdered. The Rwandan genocide stands as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of hatred and indifference. It is a dark chapter that we must remember and learn from. The world must never forget the victims and the survivors of this tragedy. It is our duty to remember what happened and to fight against all forms of intolerance and discrimination. Only then can we hope to prevent such atrocities from happening again. We must honor the memory of those who were lost by working towards a future where every human life is valued and protected. The Rwandan genocide is a painful reminder of the fragility of peace and the importance of upholding human rights for all. The Rwandan genocide primarily targeted the Tutsi people, a minority group in Rwanda. The Tutsis were systematically killed by Hutu extremists, who were the majority group. The genocide was fueled by decades of ethnic tensions and discrimination. The Hutu extremists used propaganda and fear to turn their community against the Tutsis, spreading lies and stereotypes that painted the Tutsis as enemies of the state. They used this propaganda to justify their horrific acts of violence. The Tutsis were targeted simply for who they were, their ethnicity. Men, women, and children were brutally murdered, often with machetes. Neighbors turned on neighbors, and even those who tried to hide or flee were hunted down and killed. The Rwandan genocide was a horrific example of how hatred and prejudice can lead to unimaginable violence. The perpetrators of these crimes must be held accountable, and we must work to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again. The roots of the Rwandan genocide run deep, stemming from a long history of ethnic tensions between the Hutu and Tutsi groups. These tensions were exacerbated by Belgian colonial rule, which favored the Tutsis and created a system of racial classification that further divided the two groups. After Rwanda gained independence, the Hutu majority came to power, and discrimination against the Tutsis continued. This discrimination took many forms, including exclusion from government positions, limited access to education and economic opportunities, and systematic violence. The situation worsened in the 1990s when a civil war broke out between the Hutu-led government and the Rwandan Patriotic Front, or RPF, a rebel group composed mainly of Tutsi refugees who had fled to neighboring Uganda. The assassination of Rwandan President Juvenal Habyarimana, a Hutu, on April 6, 1994, sparked the genocide. Although the exact circumstances surrounding the assassination remain unclear, Hutu extremists blamed the RPF and used the event as a pretext to launch a pre-planned campaign of extermination against the Tutsis. The genocide was not a spontaneous outburst of violence, but a carefully orchestrated plan by extremist elements within the Hutu government and military. The Rwandan genocide was a meticulously planned and organized campaign of mass murder. Hutu extremists within the government, military, and Interahamwe militia spent months preparing for the genocide. They compiled lists of Tutsis and moderate Hutus who were seen as enemies of the state. They distributed weapons, including machetes and guns, to Hutu civilians, inciting them to participate in the killings. Propaganda played a crucial role in fueling the genocide. Radio stations, particularly Radio Television Libre des Mille Collines, or RTLM, broadcast hate speech and called for the extermination of the Tutsis. The radio station became a powerful tool for spreading fear, inciting violence, and dehumanizing the Tutsi population, referring to them as cockroaches that needed to be eliminated. The organizers of the genocide established roadblocks throughout the country to identify and kill Tutsis attempting to flee. They also used lists to locate and target Tutsis who had sought refuge in churches, schools, and hospitals, places that were supposed to be safe havens. The genocide was characterized by extreme brutality and efficiency. The killers often used machetes, which were readily available and brutally effective. The speed and scale of the killings were staggering. Within a matter of weeks, hundreds of thousands of people were murdered.
The Rwandan genocide was a terrible event in human history. In 1994, over 100 days, almost 1 million people were killed in Rwanda, a small country in Africa. Most of the victims were Tutsi, a minority group targeted by extremist Hutu, the majority group. Religion, especially Christianity, played a big role in Rwandan society. Most Rwandans were Christians, with the Catholic Church being the largest denomination. Churches had a strong influence on people's lives, from education to healthcare. Because churches were so important, their role in the genocide is complex and tragic. Some church leaders and members participated in the violence, while others risked their lives to protect victims. This essay will explore the different ways churches and Christians were involved in the Rwandan genocide, drawing heavily from Timothy Longman's book, Christianity and Genocide in Rwanda. Before the genocide, churches were deeply involved in Rwandan society. They ran schools, hospitals, and other important institutions. Many Rwandans looked to their church leaders for guidance and support. The Catholic Church in particular had a close relationship with the Rwandan government. This close relationship influenced how some church leaders acted during the genocide. However, this close relationship also created tensions. Some church leaders spoke out against injustice and discrimination even before the genocide. These voices of dissent would become even more critical as the country descended into violence. The Rwandan genocide was not just a political event, it was a moral crisis that deeply affected the church. Understanding the church's role in Rwandan society before the genocide is essential to understanding the complexities of what happened during those dark days. Tragically, some churches and church leaders supported the genocide. They used their authority to encourage violence against Tutsis. Some priests and nuns participated in killings, while others turned away Tutsis seeking refuge in churches. Longman argues that the church's hierarchical structure and its teachings on obedience contributed to this complicity. Many Rwandans, including some priests and nuns, believed they had to obey authority, even when it meant committing terrible acts. However, it is crucial to remember that not all Christians supported the genocide. Many priests and nuns risked their lives to protect Tutsis. They hid them in churches, provided them with food and water, and helped them escape. The Rwandan genocide was a time of unimaginable horror, but it also revealed the capacity for both great evil and great good within the church. Even during the darkest days of the genocide, there were stories of hope and resistance. Longman highlights the courageous actions of church leaders who refused to participate in the violence. These individuals, often at great personal risk, sheltered Tutsis, spoke out against the killings, and provided comfort and support to those in need. Their stories demonstrate that even in the face of unimaginable evil, the human spirit, guided by faith and compassion, can prevail. The Rwandan genocide is a stark reminder of the dangers of hatred and intolerance. It is also a testament to the power of courage and compassion. By remembering the victims and learning from the past, we can work towards a future where such atrocities are never repeated. The legacy of the genocide continues to shape Rwanda today. The church has had to confront its role in the violence and work towards reconciliation. Understanding the complexities of this history is essential for building a more just and peaceful future for Rwanda and the world.